if you look at how power operates in the entertainment industry, whether that's Hollywood or the Indian film industry, there is a pretty universally accepted rulebook.
Right. It's a zero-sum game, intensely ruthless.
Exactly. You fight tooth and nail for a tiny bit of leverage, and then the moment you get it, you monetize it.
Yeah, you squeeze the studio for a bigger cut. You guard your IP with an army of lawyers, all of that.
You maximize your personal profit. That is the bedrock of corporate entertainment. You protect what is yours, because if you don't, the machinery will just happily consume it for free.
It makes complete logical sense. It's how the business works.
Right. But today, we're going to explore a specific 24-hour period in the life of a 21-year-old student named Anant Sharma. And in this 24 hours, every single one of those established rules gets completely shattered.
Completely inverted.
Yeah. Our mission for this deep dive is to look at a narrative from our sources that proves how giving away your leverage, like literally handing over multi-million-dollar assets for absolutely nothing, might actually be the ultimate power move.
It really is a masterclass in how uncorrupted artistic integrity can just paralyze a cynical system. Because the people in power, they simply do not know how to compute someone who refuses to play by the rules of greed.
And what makes this so fascinating for you listening is that we aren't just talking about film theory today. We're bridging high-stakes tech engineering, sports entertainment, and the really deep psychology of acting.
Oh yeah, it hits all of those notes.
So let's just drop right into the timeline. It's Mumbai. We are 3 weeks out from the release of Anant's debut film, Furi. And this movie hasn't just done well. I mean, it has fundamentally altered the box office.
It's massive. It grossed over 450 crores.
Right. And for those of you outside of India, that is roughly over 50 million US dollars. It is a certified blockbuster.
And right in the middle of this absolute cultural frenzy, Anant's producers, Ronnie Screwvala and Aditya, they summon him to a private, urgent business meeting.
Which is such an incredible visual. Because Anant flies in from Delhi specifically for the sit-down.
Yeah.
And he has to squeeze it in between his final exams at IIT Delhi.
Which is why...
We should really contextualize that for a second. IIT Delhi is one of the most elite, punishing engineering institutes on the planet. The acceptance rate is like a fraction of a percent.
It's notoriously difficult.
Right. So you have this kid currently starring in the biggest movie in the country, walking into a high-powered producer's office in simple jeans and a white T-shirt, and he's mentally prepping for a computer networks exam.
He is just entirely unaffected by the fame. But the thing is, Ronnie and Aditya aren't bringing him in to talk about acting.
No.
They want to talk about technology. Specifically, they want to discuss commercializing the custom machine learning compression algorithms and the color grading filters that Anant wrote himself to help Uri look as good as it did.
Let's actually pause and explain what this technology does.
Yeah.
Because it is not some minor tweak.
Right.
In modern filmmaking, shooting in ultra-high definition, like 4K or 8K resolution, it creates these massive bottlenecks. You're dealing with terabytes upon terabytes of uncompressed raw data.
Yeah, that data is incredibly heavy. I mean, it slows down computers, it costs an absolute fortune in server storage, and it drags out the post-production timeline. Rendering a single scene can take hours.
So what Anant built was a machine learning algorithm that fundamentally shrinks those digital file sizes while somehow magically preserving the absolute visual quality and dynamic range of the image.
It's professional-grade architecture.
Exactly. So Ronnie and Aditya are sitting across from this 21-year-old, explaining the sheer financial gravity of what he's sitting on. They're telling him that major tech companies and post-production houses would pay millions in licensing fees annually for this software.
They tell him he is sitting on a goldmine.
And how does Anant respond to the news that he's a potential tech millionaire?
Well, he reaches into his backpack, he pulls out a physical folder containing the complete source code, the implementation notes, and a USB drive, and he just slides it across the desk to them.
Just like that.
Just like that. He tells them, it's yours, no contract, no licensing fee. He just gives it to them completely for free.
I cannot get over this detail. I mean, if you think about the magnitude of that, it's like someone borrowing your car for the weekend.
Okay, yeah.
And they discover you have a horrible engine. So they secretly rewrite the onboard computer software so your car now runs perfectly on tap water.
Wow. Yeah.
And when you try to pay them for the patent, they refuse to take your money because they, quote unquote, Really enjoyed the drive.
That is exactly what it's like. And the reaction from Ronnie Screwvala is profound here. Because Ronnie has been producing films for 30 years. He has negotiated with the most ruthless sharks in the business.
He's seen it all.
Exactly. And he tells Anant to his face that in 3 decades, he has never encountered someone like him. Because everyone maximizes their cut.
But Anant explains that he views this code simply as a tribute. Ronnie and Aditya took a massive financial and reputational risk casting an unknown college kid in a $50 million blockbuster. To Anant, this algorithm is just his way of saying thank you.
But Ronnie absolutely refuses to accept it as a gift. He draws a hard line in the sand.
He's shocked, right? It's like, How are you real?
Yes. Ronnie tells Anant that he is a man of honor and he will not exploit a student. So he makes an immovable demand. He says they're going to establish a co-owned tech venture, a VFX and post-production company.
Yeah.
Ronnie and Aditya will handle all the corporate management, the scaling, the hiring. But Anant will retain the intellectual property rights, and he'll hold a majority ownership stake.
That's huge, but Anant immediately counters with his own immovable demand, doesn't he?
He does. He accepts the venture, but only on the condition that Aditya, the creative director of Yuri, is made an equal partner. He demands Aditya is given an equal partnership share and an equal say in the company.
Which completely baffles Aditya, because Aditya is a creative director. He knows how to frame a shot. He doesn't know how to run a tech startup.
Right, but look at the logic Anant applies here. He breaks down the synergy perfectly. He says Ronnie possesses the ruthless business acumen to scale a company.
Sure.
But Aditya is the artist. Aditya intimately understands the actual problems filmmakers face on a set. He knows the difference between a tool that genuinely helps a director and a piece of tech that's just, an expensive gimmick.
So by forcing Aditya into the partnership, Anant is ensuring the technology is always serving the art, not just the bottom line.
Exactly. He is deliberately tying their futures together.
He's telling them, your business success scales my technology. My technology makes your films visually superior. We all win. And there is a deeper layer of self-awareness here, too.
What do you mean?
Well, Anant admits he loves the technical work he finds coding meditative. But he knows he's a complete amateur when it comes to industry politics and corporate negotiation. So he is essentially practicing radical delegation. By giving away a massive chunk of his equity to veterans he implicitly trusts, he completely eliminates the commercial friction from his life. He buys himself the freedom to just focus on acting and coding.
It is brilliant long-term thinking. And that long-term perspective transitions seamlessly into what happens next in that very same meeting. While they're literally shaking hands on this new venture, Anant casually outlines his vision for what they need to build over the next 5 years.
The real-time rendering pitch.
Yes. Anant tells them they need to start writing the software architecture for real-time background rendering environments.
Okay, for anyone listening who has ever seen behind-the-scenes footage of a modern blockbuster, you usually see actors standing in a massive empty warehouse, completely draped in bright green fabric.
Right, the green screen.
It is incredibly sterile. The actors have to pretend they're looking at a sweeping alien landscape or a massive explosion, but they're actually just staring at a tennis ball on a stick.
It forces the actor to rely entirely on imagination, and the director just has to hope the lighting matches whatever the visual effects team adds in on computers 6 months later.
Exactly. So Anant proposes building a system where the digital environment is rendered on screens in real time, right there on the set.
So the actors can actually see the world they are inhabiting. The director can see exactly what the final shot will look like in the camera lens on the day of shooting.
But when Aditya asks if that kind of processing power is even mathematically possible, Anant's answer is really revealing. He says, with current hardware, no. The graphics processors would melt.
Right, the tech isn't there yet.
But he understands the curve of technological advancement. He predicts the hardware will catch up in 3 to 5 years. He wants to start writing the software today so that the moment the hardware arrives, they own the market.
I mean, we really have to ask, is Anant an actor who happens to code or a tech visionary who happens to act? How does a 21-year-old student have the bandwidth to strategize half a decade ahead while industry veterans admit they are only focused on the next quarter?
It's a great question. And it shows the immense advantage of Anant's dual mastery. He doesn't silo his engineering brain away from his acting brain.
No, he bridges them. The engineer in him can read the trajectory of hardware limitations, But the actor in him understands the deep emotional problem that this technology solves on a movie set.
Right.
He knows how much a green screen degrades a performance, so he is engineering a solution to improve artistic empathy.
Which leaves Ronnie and Aditya in a state of absolute awe. Ronnie literally points to Anant and tells Aditya, this is why we need him. He thinks 5 years ahead.
Yeah.
But while Anant's mind is living half a decade in the future, the immediate present is about to hit him like a freight train.
Oh man, the timing of this is just crazy. Anant leaves the office to head back and study for his exams, and barely has the door closed when Ronnie's phone rings.
Right.
It's Vijay Oberoi, a major executive at Foxstar Studios, and this is not a casual check-in. Foxstar is a colossal powerhouse in the industry.
And the sequence of events that led to this call is staggering. It centers around MS Dhoni. For those listening who might not follow cricket, we really have to establish the gravity of that name.
Definitely.
MS Dhoni isn't just an athlete. In India, cricket is practically a religion, and Dhoni is one of its undisputed gods. He was the legendary captain of the Indian national team, a World Cup winner, an icon known for his icy, unflappable demeanor under the most intense pressure imaginable.
And Dhoni had recently watched Guri. He wasn't just entertained by it. He was deeply struck by Anant's performance. Dhoni recognized the grueling physical transformation Anant underwent to play Special Forces Commando.
Yeah.
But beyond the physical, Dhoni saw the internal, psychological discipline required to hold that character together.
So Dhoni does something completely unprecedented. He contacts his close friend and manager, Arun Pandey, who happens to be producing an upcoming massive cinematic biopic about Dhoni's own life.
Right.
And Dhoni doesn't just suggest Anant for the role. He issues a direct decree. He says, quote, cast him. If he says yes, we have our film.
This is monumental. This film is going to be backed by Foxstar Studios. It's going to be directed by Niraj Pandey, who is legendary for his meticulous, authentic filmmaking style.
It's poised to be the most expensive, most scrutinized sports biopic in the history of Indian cinema.
Oh, without a doubt.
I mean, this isn't an audition process. This is the reigning king of Indian cricket looking at a 21-year-old kid and handing over his crown, basically saying only this kid has the discipline to wear it.
That's exactly what it is. Ronnie doesn't even need to call Anant to check his availability. Ronnie vouches for him right there on the phone with Foxstar because he knows Anant is a massive cricket fan who practically idolizes Dhoni's leadership style.
So when Ronnie finally does call Anant to break the news, Anant's reaction tells you everything you need to know about his character.
He genuinely thinks Ronnie is playing a prank on him.
He does.
And once Ronnie convinces him it's real, Anant doesn't do the typical Hollywood pivot. He doesn't ask how much he's getting paid. He doesn't ask for top billing or demand a massive trailer.
No, he goes into full academic lockdown mode. He immediately promises Ronnie that he will watch every single match Dhoni ever played. He will study every interview, every press conference.
He tells Ronnie he will train at a professional level, saying, I won't let Dhoni down. He treats the role with the gravity of a doctoral thesis.
But this immense dual success, I mean, securing a major tech venture and landing the biggest movie role in the country within the span of an hour, it triggers a massive alarm bell for Ronnie and Aditya.
Yeah, it prompts a really crucial conversation in our source material.
Let's unpack that. Ronnie and Aditya sit down in the quiet aftermath of these phone calls, and they look at what Anant has accomplished in just 6 months. And their conclusion isn't just celebration. Ronnie actually calls Anant dangerous.
Right, but not a danger to himself, a danger to the entire established machinery of the industry.
Because Anant is a living, breathing paradox to the system. He possesses immense talent, but zero ego. He has achieved staggering success, but he displays zero arrogance. He holds absolute power, yet he refuses to exploit anyone. But wait, look at who is making this observation. Ronnie Screwvala and Aditya Dar are veteran producers. They are the establishment. They are the sharks in this ocean. Isn't it intensely ironic that the very people who run the ruthless machinery are the ones suddenly terrified that the machinery is going to chew this kid up?
It does seem contradictory, but it's actually a profound moment of self-reflection for them. They have survived the toxic ecosystem of the industry, but they don't necessarily love it. They recognize that the industry feasts on pure souls.
Right.
Aditya points out that the ecosystem is full of vultures, agents, fixers, brands, sycophants who will aggressively throw money, girls, and power at Anant.
Their goal will be to corrupt him.
Exactly, to bring him down to their level so his motivations make sense to them. Because they recognize Anant as a dangerous threat to the status quo. He represents talent without ego and power without exploitation.
So if he is greedy, they can control him. But because he only cares about the work, he's uncontrollable.
Precisely. And Ronnie and Aditya, they want to be on the right side of this paradigm shift. So they make a pact right then and there. They vow to become his protectors.
Their shield of guardians.
Yes. They are going to use their immense power to insulate him from the toxicity. They start mapping out a completely invisible infrastructure around him, an honest manager who actually prioritizes Anant's artistic longevity over short-term financial commissions, legal counsel to ensure no studio ever takes advantage of his generosity again, and publicists solely to protect his privacy.
They even realize they have a massive, immediate logistical problem. Once Foxstar announces that Anant is playing MS Dhoni, the IIT Delhi campus is going to turn into a circus.
It will be chaos.
The paparazzi, the fan, it's going to be insane.
Yeah.
So Anant is going to need a discreet private security detail immediately just to walk to class.
But they also know Anant's personality. He is fiercely humble. If they tell him he needs bodyguards because he's a VIP movie star, he will flat out reject it. He'll absolutely hate the optics of it.
And this is where Ronnie proves why he is a master manager. He realizes he has to, quote-unquote, speak Anant.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Ronnie frames the security detail not as a perk for Anant, but as an absolute necessity to protect the other students. He tells Anant, look, your presence is going to cause a frenzy and is going to disrupt the education of your classmates. You need security to keep the campus peaceful for them.
It's framed as a collective benefit. And because it's framed as an act of consideration for others, Anant agrees.
Right. So Ronnie and Aditya are doing everything in their power to build these external walls around Anant to protect his roots. But what's truly remarkable is what Anant does that exact same night to secure his internal anchor.
Yes, because after all the madness of the day, after finishing his computer network's final exam, Anant is sitting alone in his cramped hostel room. And he picks up the phone to call his father, Rajesh.
And we really have to establish who Rajesh is, because he is not just a supportive parent. Rajesh is a former gold medalist actor from the National School of Drama, which is arguably the most prestigious acting conservatory in India.
He was a phenomenal talent.
But he sacrificed his own promising career to run a family restaurant in Chandni Chowk, a bustling historic area of Old Delhi. Rajesh knows the fundamental mechanics of acting at the highest possible level.
He does. And Anant tells his dad about the Dhoni biopic, and he makes a very vulnerable admission. He's terrified. He asks Rajesh, how do I even begin to capture the essence of a living legend? Everyone knows how Dhoni walks, how he talks, how he bats. How do I portray someone so universally revered without it looking like a caricature?
It's a huge burden.
Yeah.
And the advice Rajesh gives him is just an absolute blueprint, a masterclass in performance psychology.
It really is. Rajesh immediately warns him against the most dangerous trap an actor can fall into when playing a real historical figure, superficial mimicry. Rajesh explains that if you spend your time trying to perfectly copy the pitch of their voice, their posture, their external mannerisms, you aren't actually creating a performance. You are just doing an impression. It's empty.
Rajesh tells him that mimicry relies on external observation, but true acting requires what he calls imaginative empathy. You don't start from the outside in, you start from the inside out.
He instructs Anant to completely reconstruct Dhoni's deep internal life. He gives Anant a series of psychological prompts to meditate on, because Dhoni is universally famous for his absolute icy calm under extreme pressure.
Acting cool.
Exactly. But Rajesh asks Anant, where does that calmness actually come from? Is it a biological, natural temperament he was born with? Or is it a rigidly constructed discipline he uses to mask intense internal anxiety?
And he pushes him further. He says, when Dhoni is standing on the pitch making a highly controversial strategic decision in the final over of a World Cup match, what is his internal monologue? What is the specific vocabulary he uses to speak to himself when he fails?
Rajesh tells him that he needs to understand the architecture of Dhoni's mind. And he delivers this defining quote. The external mannerisms will follow naturally if the internal understanding is correct.
That is so powerful.
If you truly deeply understand why Dhoni is calm, your body will naturally adopt the physical posture of that calmness. You won't have to force the walk. The walk will happen because you are carrying the same internal weight.
It makes me think of the difference between wearing a superhero's costume and actually understanding the trauma and responsibility of why the hero puts the suit on in the first place.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Anyone can buy the spandex suit and mimic the poses, but you cannot replicate the psychological weight of the world on their shoulders without that imaginative empathy.
Exactly. And Rajesh points out a beautiful through line in his son's young career here. Connect Rajesh's advice to Anant's broader trajectory. First, Anant played a special forces commando in Uri, honoring the sacrifice of real soldiers. Now, he is being asked to embody a national sports icon.
He's being chosen for stories that matter.
Yes. Rajesh tells him he is honoring real heroes, and his authenticity is his true superpower.
It is the perfect counterbalance to everything happening in Mumbai. Ronnie and Aditya are working overtime to build this impenetrable external shield of lawyers and security guards. But Rajesh is giving Anant the internal armor.
Right, because Anant knows exactly who he is, a student from Chandni Chowk who values craft over fame. So the external pressures of the industry simply cannot corrupt him.
When we look at this entire 24-hour span, it really challenges our fundamental assumptions about how success works.
It really does. Anant didn't conquer the industry by out-negotiating the sharks. He conquered it by operating on a completely different frequency.
Which brings us to the core summary of this deep dive. The narrative we are always fed is that power comes from hoarding your leverage, aggressively protecting your assets, and mimicking the ruthless behavior of the people at the top.
But Anant's story proves the exact opposite.
It does. True, untouchable power can actually stem from radical generosity, like giving away a multi-crore code simply because you are grateful.
Yeah.
And true artistry doesn't come from superficially mimicking greatness. It comes from deep, imaginative empathy.
By refusing to play the toxic games of the system, Anant didn't just survive the machinery, he forced the machinery to protect him.
It's a complete paradigm shift. And it leaves us with a provocative thought that goes far beyond the film industry, something I really want you to chew on in the context of your own life.
Yeah.
Rajesh taught his son that mimicking someone's external actions is empty. You have to understand their internal psychology. So look at your own career, your own daily routines, your own ambitions. How much what you consider your success is just superficial mimicry of what you think successful people do.
Wow, yeah.
Waking up at 5 a.m., using the right corporate buzzwords, wearing the right clothes. What would happen if, instead of copying the external habits of people you admire, you sought imaginative empathy instead? Who could you become if you focused on the internal truth and let the external success follow naturally?
That's a profound question to end on.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the surface level of the information you consume, and we will catch you next time.